I spent $1,500 on 2 GPS dog collars to settle this once and for all. When I started researching GPS collars for my dog, every video I watched just felt like a commercial. The reviewers clearly hadn't tested both products side by side, they just repackaged the marketing claims. SpotOn says they're more accurate, Halo says they're more accurate. Both claim to be industry leaders, so I did what any obsessive researcher would do. I bought both. The SpotOn at $999 up front, no subscription required, and the Halo Collar 5 at $549, but with a mandatory monthly fee that brings the total cost pretty close over time. But here's what nobody tells you. The real differences aren't on the spec sheet. They're in the details you only discover when you actually start using these things. How the collar feels on your dog, whether the GPS actually holds up under trees, if the app frustrates you or just works. I have no idea which one's gonna win, but by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which collar is right for your situation. And I'm gonna show you the 3 tests that actually matter when you're trusting a device with your dog's safety. Here's what my brain needed to sort out while testing these collars. When I was reading reviews, I noticed something odd. Tons of 5-star praise. And then a handful of people saying that the collars didn't work at all. After doing my own tests, I get why there's such a mix, and here's the honest answer you need to know. There's a learning curve. I've been testing tech products for multiple YouTube channels over the years, and even for me, getting both these collars dialed in took some time. So if you buy one, give yourself a dedicated testing day before putting it on your dog or deciding whether or not to keep it. Don't rush it, and don't judge it before you really understand the setup. The first time I mapped my perimeter with Halo, I placed the fence line exactly where I wanted it. But when I walked the boundary to test, I was getting corrections slightly outside where I expected. That's not the collar failing, that's just how GPS reality works. I ended up tightening my boundaries a few feet to create a safe cushion. My point is, during your first hour or so, don't involve your dog yet. Get familiar with the alerts yourself first, and the static is no joke. Definitely stick with the vibrate, in my opinion. Make sure you know exactly where the boundary kicks in, especially when you hit vibration or correction, and do this far away from streets or hazards. You want total confidence before letting your dog loose. Also, use the training programs. They're not just filler. They exist for a reason, and they're gonna make everything easier for you and clearer for your dog. Skipping the training is the fastest way to have a bad experience. Here's what I found in my testing, and keep this in mind because accuracy matters more than anything else with these collars. When we first ran our tests, we honestly didn't notice much of a difference between Halo and SpotOn. In a normal backyard environment, both performed really well. There's a learning curve with each app, and we figured out pretty quickly that you need to place your virtual boundaries a little further from roads. That applies to both systems. So in a typical yard setup, you're not gonna see a huge accuracy gap between the two. But then we decided to push things a bit. We went to a park nearby that's notorious for poor cell reception. Dense trees, uneven terrain, and an open road just a few feet away. I brought a friend to help mark the moments when each collar gave warnings and corrections. Halo took much longer to complete setup, which makes sense given the lack of service. And once we started testing, we noticed a few missed warnings and times when the distinction between warning tones and corrections wasn't totally clear. SpotOn, on the other hand, lived up to its name. Every single time we approached the boundary, it fired off alerts exactly as expected. A warning tone, then a vibration, then an accelerated vibration, all while keeping plenty of distance from the road. And just to be clear, the boundary in this test was drawn manually to match Halo's map, so the positioning was identical for both. At the end of the day, you'll probably rarely notice major differences in average conditions, and we're certainly not implying the one park is going to define how every collar performs everywhere, but when you're in tougher environments, That's where SpotOn really earns its reputation from our testing. If you need the collar that stays accurate even when your phone barely has a signal, SpotOn is still the one to trust. SpotOn is the accuracy leader. If you want the most reliable system, period, that's the one. It also has some advanced tools like physically walking the perimeter and dropping pins automatically, which I really like. That said, Halo has some legitimate strengths too, namely comfort, app simplicity, and a more approachable setup for people who aren't super tech savvy. For some folks, that'll matter more. A quick example. With SpotOn, you walk your fence line and it automatically drops location points along the way. With Halo, you draw the fence manually in the app, then adjust it based on real-world testing. Both systems work, one just leans more technical and one leans more user-friendly. If you know technology isn't your thing, Halo might feel more comfortable for you out of the gate. Either way, I'll put links below. They both include discounts, and remember, both collars have risk-free trials. So if you're unsure, try them, test them the right way, then make your decision. And if you run into any issues during your setup, drop a comment. We're still actively testing and happy to help you dial it in.